What does black and British mean to me? We are one of a kind. We're enigmas. We are an enigma. So I hold that title very, very dearly. Like, I'm so fucking proud of being black and being English. Like, fully. And I feel like we have gone through our own rites of passage. And it started with a pride. It started with a sense of liberation. It started with a sense of purpose. So for me, knowing what I've been through, knowing the struggles that my parents have been through, to get me to this position that I am at right now, I don't take the words of being a black Englishman lightly. For me, it's almost like a sense of nobility. Okay, I came from this soil, I came from this seed, and this is what we had to do. There you go, take that.
Thank you.
You are so welcome.
Can I just say that I have never been so glad that I have stopped a stranger just because they're also black and British. Because I do it all the time. I do, but I don't think I've had like such a good solid friendship and connection like the one we've had since, what was it, like 2 years ago?
2 years ago, yeah.
2 years ago. You do wellness, you do Tai Chi, you're a vegan chef, you're also a runner. So I'm curious, like, how did you get there? Like, what was it about you growing up that inspired you to be a Tai Chi instructor, vegan chef, and everything else?
Well, that's a bit of a load question. What got me to that point? Well, I will tell you, one of the things is I've always been outside of the box with everything that I do. So, you know, while some mates were going off to uni and college and stuff like that, I went to art college, right? Became a full-fledged Muslim at 16 years old, to the dismay of my parents. Was reading Malcolm X, the autobiography of Malcolm X, and then decided to change everything about my whole structure. And then, you know, really the biggest thing was moving to America at the age of 18. That was really, really big, right? But yeah, I've just always been somebody who's been outside of the box. So coming here and then getting into the things, if you'd have asked me 25, 30 years ago that I'd be doing all the stuff that I would be doing, I'd probably laugh at you.
What positive impact has all of these outlets had on you?
A profound positive impact. Profound. The people that I've met on this journey. There's been so many people that I've met on this journey, from people on the street, meeting people like you, to meeting friends that I would never even think that I would be in contact or even having relationships with. Some of the peers that I've had, whether it be in sports, whether it be in, you know, Buddhism and mindfulness, cooking, music, film, like the amount of people that I've met has just been incredible. And it's just because I've been doing what I've done. And that's, and then to have some of that reciprocated back to me, like some of these people like, wow, Hawk, you kind of changed my life. And I'm like, me? So yeah, it's been powerful. It's been
great. So we know you're from London, and of course your parents are Jamaican. How? I mean, I in part know the answer to this because my grandfather was from Kingston, but still, how did that, if at all, influence your decision? How did they respond when they found out you'd be going down this path instead of, you know, being a graphic artist like you assumed you would?
Well, all Jamaican parents are like, like they want you to become either a doctor, a lawyer, a physician of some sort, or an engineer, right? So here I am. I'm like, yeah, I'm going to massage therapy school. I want to become an acupuncturist. I want to learn Tai Chi and all this stuff, and they're like, you know, Jamaicans. What foolish business are you doing? You know what I mean? Like, go on, get yourself a job, a proper job. But then it's so funny because, especially coming to LA, and then hearing about me being on magazines and being in certain commercials or certain ad campaigns, they're like,
that's what does it, isn't it?
Yeah, and it's we always do have something. You know what I mean?
It was wild because when I first moved to America, I remember having like one of those final talks with my nan, and she was like, you know, slavery is still legal over there. I'm like, what?
Where do they have this?
Exactly. She's like, yeah, in South Carolina they can still. I'm like, no,
wow.
I'm not moving to South Carolina. But like fast forward to like when I was graduating uni, of course they want to come, they want to be in the sun, they want to go to the beach, Hollywood sign. And then I remember her being like, oh, you're in this acting business, like what's going on? Like when are you going to find a real job?
Yeah.
Until my first TV credit. But she was like, oh, you're quite good at it.
That's always, once they start seeing like some, you know, accreditation or some type of accolade, they're like,
yeah, the fact that she could go on Sky One
and
see me all of a sudden, she was like, oh,
that's it.
So how did you become a Tai Chi instructor?
So Tai Chi came to me, I'll give you the very, very brief condensed version. Tai Chi came to me because I had injured myself. I had, back in the day when I worked for Circuit City, I was pulling a 50-inch TV. Do you remember when 50-inch TVs were not like the size of the ones in my living room, but they were like behemoths? I was lifting one back and I tore my meniscus like that because I was pulling it back and the strap broke. And I tore my meniscus. So at that time I was doing Kung Fu, I was doing praying mantis Kung Fu. I couldn't do that anymore. So basically my tale of how I recouped or rehabilitated myself was through yoga. And then at that time, you know, I was looking into programs because then me and my girlfriend at that time in Austin broke up and wanted to leave Austin like, I was like, she ruined me. So I left Austin, and my first Tai Chi teacher, my Kung Fu teacher was really proficient in Tai Chi, but I didn't know about that until later on. So after messing up my knee, going through crazy breakup, I ended up moving to Orlando, and that's when I found out this bodywork program. My first mentor was a Tai Chi professional, like super professional. And that's how I got into Tai Chi. And I basically learned from him. I was under his wing. And the profound things that I got from Tai Chi were not, I didn't find them in Kung Fu, but I found them in Tai Chi. I found a spiritual practice. I became very Zen before Zen was even a word or if I even knew Zen. It was a way that I could be grounded. It was a way that I learned about breath control. It was a way to curb. I was a very angry person for many, many years, and it curbed my anger in a different way. And I learned how to channel and use the power of internal energy to its fullest degree. And then I fell in love with it, and I fell in love with the feeling that I had, and it made me more peaceful, and it made me more grounded. And I realized that this was what I needed. This wasn't hardcore, it wasn't hard, and it was a way that being such a big guy, that I could move so eloquently and so softly. And it suited my nature. Yes, I was big and looked very gruff, but I was very soft in nature. And I loved the whole essence of the Tao Te Ching and how the Lao Tzu lyrics of the Tao Te Ching equated into a spiritual martial art. And I loved that it was a martial art because my teacher and my teachers after that taught it as a martial art. And that's when I learned about Taoism, and then the rest is history. I went through probably 11 of 12 years of doing Tai Chi every day for 3 or 4 hours, whether it was just me or me and my students. I went from probably about 2000, the year 2000, No, 99, from the year 99 till about 2010, 2011, I was literally doing Tai Chi anywhere from an hour to 4 hours every day. And then I picked up Taoism and became a Taoist initiate, and Buddhism came in, and it has shaped and formulated my whole life tenfold, especially during my flourishing rap career, so to speak. I was very angry, I was very bitter, and I used to just beat people up for fun. It was like, you know, that was a thing. Just like, I didn't care, I didn't give a F. And then after a while, maturing and learning the essence of Tai Chi and Tao and getting more into spiritual practice, I learned that it's bigger than that. And it has shaped and formed my life ever since to where we are now.
Other than, I know you've only been here for a few years. You've also lived in, did you live in New York? Am I remember?
Yep, I lived in Brooklyn, Flatbush.
And you've also lived in Florida as well as Texas?
Yep, I lived in Austin, Texas, and I lived in Orlando, Florida.
So what did that teach you about navigating this country, specifically navigating this country as a black British man?
It taught me that I had to be swift and adaptable in all and in every situation. I've literally lived in the hotbed of blackness and the hotbed of whiteness. So, New York, when I first got to New York, was during the crack era, and I was living in Flatbush, which was the hotbed of like the Jamaican posse selling crack and whatnot. Then I I was in that whole lifestyle, Jamaican. You know, Flatbush, Brooklyn was the hotbed and the haven for Jamaican immigrants, right? So I was around nothing but yardis, Jamaicans, yada, yada, yada. I then moved to Austin, Texas. The term Austin, Texas, keep Austin weird.
I didn't know that was a thing. I knew about Portland.
Yeah, it's a very big thing. So I probably was in the most liberal city of Texas, which is Austin. But Austin was amazing because I learned about Islam, black Islam in Austin, Texas. I learned about Rastafarianism in its totality in Austin, Texas. More so than Flatbush, Brooklyn, which is crazy enough. Which is crazy. It's where I became vegan. Essentially, it's where I became a man. So Austin was really crazy in that aspect. But I saw racism on a whole, like, deep, dark racism in Texas. Because when you come out of Austin, you've got Houston and you've got Dallas. And back in those days, so I was in the mid-90s to late 90s.
Ooh, okay.
And, I mean, this racism was really high in Texas. Then I went to Orlando. So Orlando has this picture where it's like, oh my God, it's island people, there's Haitians, there's Jamaicans, there's yada, yada, yada.
But is that really...
It's a facade. It was like racist. I mean, you gotta remember, we're talking Florida is down south.
Yeah, it's still very much in the south, absolutely.
So I got to really learn about racism on a whole different aspect. And then the area of town that my parents lived in is right outside a place called Ocoee. Ocoee was the KKK stronghold in Florida for many, many years. Many, many years. So, although on the outskirts or on the outside you would think, oh my God, Florida, Orlando, that's home of Disney, that's very diverse. It was not diverse, and it was very segregated. So I learned a lot about keeping myself to myself, keeping in my certain pockets, yada yada, in Florida. Being in all of those areas, I feel like actually being in Austin and being in Orlando has prepped me to have the voice that I have and have made that decision to do what I have done and to do what I do more easy coming to LA, because I've been given a platform to be like, okay, you might not have been given that platform before, but you have been given that platform now. Now, how are you going to utilize that platform?
That's great.
Here we are. and that the story of the black Englishman is a lot different than the story of a black American. Because when you talk on the phone, no one's going to really know that you're black when you talk like this until you're actually in their face. So a lot of the times I would talk to people and they would be like, oh yes, yeah, please, come. We want to meet you, da-da-da-da-da. And then once they saw who I was, it was like, oh. I've had to learn through experience and past experiences. And then I've also, I have the tool of mindfulness through Buddhism to be mindful of how I speak to people and how to be mindful in certain situations. Growing up, especially coming from first generation, Jamaicans coming to England, the biggest thing that my parents always used to say to me is, you can work 100%, but I would advise you to work 150 to 200% better than the next person.
No, you have to.
You have to. And that's always been in the back of my mind, and then always recognizing and being cognizant of how hard my parents had to work to put me in the situation where I'm at today. It's always in the back of my mind and in the forefront of my mind.
I was in a very hostile environment in South London. Like, despite this like posh demeanor, people try and throw me. I'm from like the London equivalent of like a Crenshaw or a South Central. And so, as much as I want to go South London on people sometimes, I also, just like you said, you just kind of have to be grounded. You have to remember what those before you went through, so that you wouldn't be in certain situations. So I always just hit people with what I know. With all of this in mind, what does being black and British mean to you?
Whew! What does black and British mean to me? We are one of a kind. You know? I mean, every black English person that I've met thus far, especially been in LA, we're enigmas. We are an enigma. I was just on a podcast this morning and I was explaining to this guy my life story, and he was like, how the hell did you do it? How did you get to this point? It's a rite of passage, man. It's like, you know, we think about Harriet Tubman and what she had to do to go through the Underground Railroad, right? We think of, say, a Huey P. Newton or Elwood Cleaver and how they started the Black Panther movement. We can go as far as thinking about how all these great movements and certain things started. It started somewhere. So, and it started with a pride. It started with a sense of liberation. It started with a sense of purpose. So for me, knowing what I've been through, knowing the struggles that my parents have been through, to get me to this position that I'm at right now, I don't take the words of being a black Englishman lightly. Like, yes, being black in America, you have to work, and you have to work tenfold, and you have to take it to another level. Well, just imagine being black in English. So not only are you in a country that is very foreign to you, you're foreign to even your peers, who are of the same color. You know what I mean? And so not only do you have, say, you know, white bodies, yellow bodies, red bodies that are looking at you kind of different, you have your own kind looking at you different. Your black Americans went through slavery. We went through our own form of slavery. When you talk about our ancestors, the Jamaicans, the Grenadians, Barbadians, coming to England,
to the Caribbean even.
Like, we went through atrocities too.
Yeah, I think for me that also involves just honouring and understanding, you know, the culture you had before you just happened to be, in this case, English by association.
Yeah.
So, you know, for us, that's being Jamaican, and in my case also St. Lucian. That also means for me, like, the Senegalese roots I'm aware of, because, you know, that's who we were before slavery, and it also means just honouring the culture outside of this expectation of who we're supposed to be, and actually making it clear, like, nah, this is who we are, this is what we actually do, and to stand in that truth regardless of the expectations that everyone, just like you perfectly said, from every angle throws at you. And I think that's hard to do because, you know, I've seen so many people Americanize themselves and stay that way.
Yes. I've seen it a lot.
They'll be like, oh yeah, I'm from Chicago, I'm from this, and they never honour where they were born, where they were raised. So yeah, people are always shocked when they find out how long I've lived here. The assumption's always that I'm a tourist.
Yes. Yeah.
You know, it's like, oh, you still have the accent. I'm
Yeah.
like, oh, am I supposed to sound like you?
Yeah, that's
I ain't.
exactly.
It's
yeah,
not gonna happen.
That's a lot. I hear that a lot. I just met some people the other day and they were like, how long you been here? I was like, oh, 20-something years. They're like, right here, dude. They were like, you still got it? I was like, yeah, why? Why would I lose it? I think about a time when I was trying to be American, right? I wanted to be in the hottest Nike gear. I wanted to be, no say, no way, you know. I was like, you know, yeah. You know, I wanted to be that Ghostface. I wanted to be that Raekwon. I wanted to be that special ed. And then I think, you know, one, you get the people who are like, oh, James Bond, yeah, or tea and crumpets and stuff like that. The same old, yeah. And then I think this one day I grew up and I was like, you know what? I actually like being black and English. So, I'm able to hold a lot of my ancestors' true beliefs and things that they carried with them, and I've just been able to carry that baton and take it to another level. So I hold that title in high regards. Just like when you come out, you're representing us too. So I hold great. I don't know if pride is the word I'm looking for, but I hold it in high regards. Like there's a nobility. There's a nobility to being black. There's a nobility to being a black Englishman. Black Englishwoman, yada yada, or just being black.
Just being very aware.
Yeah, and being aware of it.
Thank you, Hakim. This has really been fantastic.
Thank you.
I'm so glad we had this conversation and I learned a lot about you because I mean I knew bits and pieces here and there, but this detail was just fantastic. So
Thank you. Thank you.